by Daniel and Ken Trush in 2006 to empower individuals with developmental and physical disabilities by combining music programs with community and socialization. Daniel, the inspiration for the foundation, survived a ruptured brain aneurysm at the age of 12. He now serves as the president, while his father, Ken, serves as the chair of the board of directors. Daniel Music Foundation prides itself on inclusion, diversity, and the right of all individuals to creatively express their best selves. Daniel, you contracted a health condition, which you will explain um, early on as a child growing, in high school. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened, which was the precursor to starting DMF or Daniel's Music Foundation?
Okay, sure. So on March 9th of 1997, while I was playing basketball at my school gym one Sunday afternoon, one of my 5 undetected brain aneurysms burst inside my head. I went into a coma and I was in a coma for 30 days, and I was in the hospital and rehab for a total of 341 days. But who's counting, am I right?
Yeah, who's counting? But that's intense.
Well, on the
And
second
then
night, I was just going to add, on the second night, I was sleeping at the hospital, and the doctors woke me up, and they said, "Your son's gone from bad to worse. Get your wife to say goodbye. He's not going to make it." And it was just unbelievable. I mean, couldn't fathom what they were saying. He was a healthy boy 2 days earlier, and now they're saying he's not going to make it. And so when he pulled through, even though it was a long road, we felt so fortunate and blessed.
yeah, no, for sure. Briefly, can you talk about post, you being out of the hospital, going home? What was, the day to day like rehabilitation like?
Um, I guess my father became like my therapist in a way because he would take me out to Central Park and he would push me in my wheelchair for one lamppost, and then I would walk one lamppost, and we did it so many times that actually in 2007 I completed the whole New York City Marathon.
That's amazing.
You
Way
all,
to go.
thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Uh, did you think prior that you were going to be able to do it?
I was pretty sure because uh, two, 2 years before I did the last 10 miles, and the year before I did the second half.
Got it.
So I was pretty prepared.
And it was funny. We were doing a long training run, and I said, "Daniel, tomorrow we're going to have to do 15 miles." I said, "How do you feel about that?" And he came up with a classic answer.
Yep, I said that's what you gotta do if you want to do a marathon.
I was
That's
expecting him,
true.
say, "No, I don't want to do it," or "Can we go less?" He's
Mhm.
the heart of a lion.
Yeah. So, Ken, did you and your wife and I know your other son like have any doubts about Daniel running in the marathon?
Um, Nancy wanted Daniel to do 18 miles
Yeah.
that year,
Okay.
progression 10, 13, 18. And I was really pushing for the whole marathon. But more importantly, Daniel wanted
Yeah,
to do the whole
yep, I
marathon.
wanted to do the whole thing.
So I was a little nervous because if Daniel got injured, how do I face my wife to say that I made the wrong decision?
Yeah.
So we trained really hard. Actually, one of Daniel's physical therapists, when he was in the hospital, was on our team.
Yeah.
So we did it together along with 2 or 3 other volunteers that had been with Daniel. So it was like a little party going on,
Yeah,
right?
it was. It was.
If you can have a party during the marathon, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's true.
Yeah, I couldn't do the marathon. I have a problem with running and just I don't know, I don't have the stamina for it to even like do any of that sort like outside. I'm talking about exercise. I mean, it's one thing play tennis and run from A to Z if you need to get to whatever the game is. So I work out on the treadmill, but I can't I can't do running. So I give you a lot of credit. Daniel. I also like to track my calories and this and that, regardless that I'm fit.
Yep, that is great.
I'm just being, but no, but congrats. That's definitely a big milestone. And then also, what about obviously there was speech therapy, physical therapy, OT. I guess really your neuropsychological team, because that really is a game changer probably to where you are now, in particular, aside from speech and OT. But
Mhm.
can you just tell us a little bit about what that treatment regimen was?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel was an outpatient, so he was inpatient for a year.
Mhm.
He was outpatient. You were having how many therapies a day or a week?
Yeah, I was having, I think, 4 or 5 therapies a day.
Wow.
What they were OT,
Yeah, OT, PT, speech therapy, and psychology.
and then cognitive, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then music therapy too.
Right.
later on. So, it was a big regimen that he was undertaking, and as you may know, as you do know, they say, okay, do this with us today, and then when you go home, do this 2 or 3 times a day at home.
Mhm.
And so we took it very seriously, and so I was like Daniel said earlier, I was becoming Daniel's therapist, and finally, you'll see, and you probably know, very rarely is this man sad. But he had
Right.
a sad look on his face. And I said, Dan, what's the matter? And he said
And
words that changed our
yeah,
relationship.
I said I want you as my dad, not as my therapist. I have tons of them, but I only have one of you.
That's really powerful.
Because it happened so suddenly, at the beginning, until he said that, which was eye opening for me, I wanted to bring Daniel back to the way he was the day before his injury. And so I would push him pretty hard because I kept I felt that we're going to get through this. And by Daniel saying that, he was saying, "Love me as I am."
Mhm.
That was the
Yeah.
old me. This is the new me. And that was eye opening. I mean, he was 14 years old when he said that.
Wow.
It changed our relationship forever.
Mhm.
And it allowed me to appreciate the new and improved Daniel.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it may be crazy for me to like say this, and I'm sure you can resonate with this. As awful as these brain aneurysms and what happened to you. No one would wish that. But now you have a gift. Um, and your gift now to society is your foundation, which we're going to get into. And then anything and everything else you do. So it's special. I mean, regardless, it's unfortunate that it
Absolutely.
happened.
And, at one point, Nancy and I were speaking at the table. Daniel was sort of off to the side. And Nancy, if you could have a do over, would you do it? And she said no. And I wanted to see Daniel's reaction. And he was listening. And then finally he chimed in. Do you remember what you said? You said, if the injury didn't happen, I might have
Oh
been.
yeah, yep. I said if the injury didn't happen, I might have become a lawyer or a businessman, and there are already enough of those.
It's true.
And so he goes, how many music foundations are there?
Yep.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then I don't know, obviously, if this is coincidental, we'd spoken about this, but your brother became a neuropsychologist. So
Uh,
you were obviously an influence to him.
yep.
And that's awesome. So music therapy has been something that's been very helpful to you. So how did you get into music therapy and what did it help you in terms of your recovery and just, your life, in general?
Yeah. Okay. So my family actually hired a music therapist to teach me the keyboard after I got out of the hospital,
Mhm.
and he would come over once a week and we used to have so much fun.
And it was interesting because I would hear them laughing and playing, but I never took it seriously that this was a path for Daniel because he's had so many therapies, and so this was one more. But Nancy and I were so happy that he was having a good time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know that a few years later, why don't you talk about Hunter, how you used to go and
Yeah, okay. So my father used to take me to Hunter College as a non-matriculated student. So I would take one or two classes a semester, and I took a general music class, a psychology class, a sociology class, and then I took another class with a very special woman named Stephanie Jensen Moulton, who helped me find my passion for music, because my father used to go in once or twice a semester and ask the professor how I was doing, and I would usually say he's doing okay. But then Stephanie said, he's doing great. I want him to take ear training with me. And that was another light bulb moment for our family.
It's amazing. All right. So then X number of years later, you started the Daniel's Music Foundation. So what is the vision of DMF?
well, I think it's gone through a whole
Mhm.
series of changes over the years. I mean, when we first started, after, like Daniel said, after Stephanie said, he had perfect pitch, I want to take ear training. We said, okay, this could be a path for Daniel. And we went online and we were looking for music and disabilities, and we only saw music therapy, which is great. I mean, to help Daniel, but there was no program where someone could just enjoy music. And so we said, why don't we start it? And we started with what?
Yeah, we started with one keyboard class and only 5 musicians
In
in
2006.
2006.
Yeah. Actually, today, 15 years ago, was the first keyboard class. It was a Friday night, March 3rd, 2006.
Uh-huh.
And we just said, okay, we're going to have this keyboard class. We bought 6 keyboards from Sam Ash. And it was today, 15 years ago, that Daniel's music therapist taught that keyboard class.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That's incredible. And now you, Daniel, you play the piano one-handed, correct?
Yep, with one hand and one finger on my left hand.
One finger? Oh my goodness.
I could still.
That's incredible. So
I,
you've compensated. I mean,
yeah.
I was naturally left-handed, but you've compensated for, to use your left arm. Is your left, correct? Is it the left that's affected or your right?
The left.
Okay, so then to use only your right arm, is that correct?
Yeah, I could play all of the keys with my right hand and then one finger on the left hand.
Amazing.
Uh,
So, what has been the most rewarding aspect, I guess, or most rewarding thing, and that's special to you in seeing DMF thrive and evolve over the years?
I think you have to look at it 2 ways. I mean, one, early on, before we started, we wanted to make it free. Okay. We wanted to make the classes free because we felt that music was,
yeah, we felt that music was a right, not a privilege.
so we wanted to open it up to everyone. And a lot of people told us, you should charge and then give scholarships. And we said, we think that if we do a really good job, people will make donations.
Yeah, and we could never turn somebody down if they hadn't paid.
Exactly. That was so if someone showed up, hadn't paid, our family didn't have the heart to say, you can't come today.
Yep, and once that got out there, it was all over.
And so we said, why don't we turn it on its head and say it's free, but if you can afford it, make a donation.
Right.
And when you extend trust, you get trust in return. And so what we're most proud of is that after 15 years, we went from that one class and 5 members to being able to give 50 free classes a week to over 300 people. So really proud about that because everyone should have music in their life, and we broke down the barriers of that. So that on a large scale is something we're really proud. I think rewarding on an individual basis, we've seen so many fantastic musicians come in that never either played or they were emerging verbal and started singing, uh, relationships that they built. There are so many things that we can point to where you say, wow, look at the progress that person made. And it
Mhm.
feels great.
Yeah.
It feels great.
Yeah, it must be really rewarding. I think that's the best feeling, knowing that your work is helping another person and seeing them improve, go from A to B.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think has been the most significant accomplishment of DMF so far?
I think being able to, grow, expand, and allow our programs to take different directions, right? We started with the music program, but now we have
Now we
this,
have the disability awareness program, and we also have the DMF virtual community.
so here we started with this one class and it branched out, to our own center, disability awareness, where we speak to a lot of schools about differences. And then we have virtual community, and now we can go national. And then when the center reopens, we're going to live stream all our classes to everyone that wants to, join.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, can you talk a little bit about then the disability awareness program, and then you said there was a virtual, correct?
Yeah.
So, what do these programs like consist of? So, like for instance, what is the disability awareness program?
Well, it started because of personal experiences, like most things.
Yeah.
Right,
So Daniel is a hero to our family.
of course.
However, he still walks. He has a
Yeah,
limp.
I have a limp, and sometimes my left arm spasms and comes up like this.
So we would walk down the street, and what would happen?
Yeah, we could see parents pulling their young children away from me or just staring at me because they didn't understand or they didn't know anybody who had a disability. So then what I started doing is I would just stop and wave and say, "Hello, how are you?" And it totally disarms them. They're like, "He could talk, he could talk."
And so, and when we did some research, there's a study in the UK that said two out of three people are uncomfortable communicating with a person with a disability. And so, what we decided to do is there was frustration, take that frustration and turn it into a positive, which is educate. And so we decided to go to schools and have schools come to the music center. And we would give about a 45-minute program with videos and discussions about differences. And then they would volunteer in the classroom.
Yeah.
And it would be a 2-hour program. And when they left, they were like big brothers, big sisters with our musicians.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see. One year we did 50 in one year, and it was a lot of schools in Manhattan, and then it started going to companies, corporations. So we want to keep doing that for us, like you. Want to take those words out of circulation, like disability, and just hey, look, we're all individuals, but there's like these small steps you have to take before you get there.
And Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Kid around, we said our best accomplishment in disability awareness would be if no one wanted to take the program because everybody was treating everyone with respect and as an individual.
Yeah.
That would be our greatest accomplishment. Well, we don't teach you anymore. Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like being cured, quote unquote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you wouldn't have your job, quote unquote.
Again, love music.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
music's wonderful. So, how obviously with this pandemic have you seen DMF um, thrive, or just what have you learned doing virtual classes and really being, at home teaching, music and just operating in general?
I mean, I think the first thing is we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we had something called the Danny Awards on March 8th of last year. 4 days later, the center was closed. It was mind-boggling. It's like we had this great event attended by 600 people, and then it spread so quickly. We thought we were going to be closed for 2 weeks, and then we would tell members we're going to be open April 1st.
Sorry, I laugh because I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so when we realized the seriousness of it, our staff is amazing. We have a lot of staff that have been with us for over 10 years. We huddled up and we said, what can we do? We didn't want to furlough people or cut people's salary. So we said, okay, we always wanted to go virtual because the Danny's was the start of that, but we never had the concentrated time to do that.
Mhm.
And so we started brainstorming. We had brainstorming sessions about what does a virtual community mean? Why should people care about our virtual community? And then we started and settled on what? Giving.
Oh yeah, we settled on giving virtual classes.
Mhm.
Dance parties, right?
Yeah. So we have themed dance parties,
Open.
mic nights.
And then how about on the channel, right? DMF.
DMF on demand, where people could go if they have a specific thing that they want to see in mind.
So we have 8 series now on the DMF on demand, 4 around music and 4 on disability awareness.
Amazing.
And people could,
Thank you.
pick and choose. And then we give virtual private lessons and small group classes. So it's going to continue after the center opens.
Right.
I'll have about 2,000 people in our virtual community.
Wow. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So what is the Smile-O-Meter, the Smile-O-Meter Friday? And do you have a favorite episode?
Well, the first thing is the name. It's all about Daniel because I have a business background. So when we were first starting out in 2006, I was coming up with all these business metrics on how to measure success, right? Key success factors, key performance indicators. So I turned to Daniel and I said, how should we analyze if we're doing a good job? And he was brilliant.
Yep, I said we'll use a smile-o-meter to judge our success. So now we judge whether we're successful or not by the number of smiles that we get.
And so when we started doing on-demand videos for disability awareness, we said, why don't we do an episode that's light and engaging and let the world see Daniel's humor, and then interview people from all over the world and have them perform music.
Right.
And it's been amazing. I mean, we've had a group from Zimbabwe, someone from the Texas area, someone across the bridge to New Jersey, someone from the UK. Every episode is special in its own way. I mean, some of the things and responses that our guests said are really amazing. Just talk about their life challenges, why they got into music. So no one favorite, although I enjoyed the first episode with Daniel because we let the world know more about us and what our likes and dislikes are, and also for the world to see how funny Daniel is.
Of course. You have a great sense of humor. Both of you do, though.
I'm a straight man.
So what are some of your goals for the future with DMF?
Well, okay, let's see. We want to make the Danny Awards.
How much time do you have?
Give the top 2 or top 3.
Okay, we'll give you the top 3. Okay, number 1, we want to reopen the music center. That's always going to be our flagship, because that's where the magic happens when when you see people interact with people.
Yeah.
We're going to continue the virtual community and hope to have participants from all 50 states with our program, and hopefully maybe expand globally with the virtual community. And then the Danny Awards, we want to make that like the Grammys. And we want to make that global. And the Danny Awards, because we really didn't explain it,
It's like the Grammy Awards for people with disabilities.
Exactly. And so we get video submissions from all over the world. We got about 110 video submissions last year. We have a panel of judges who review the videos, and then we pick the top 10 to honor them. And last year, 7 out of the 10 flew into New York, and they performed in front of 600 people. And so we want to expand that this year. It's going to be in October this year.
I'm coming.
Wow,
Excellent.
that's great.
I'll come, sure.
Fantastic.
Yep, that's great.
And
it
it's
makes
free.
us so happy.
Surprise, surprise, it's free.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we just want to show the world the talent that's there. And now certain musicians are getting interested in it, and they've said, how can we help? How can we participate? So one day you'll be walking the blue carpet.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. What was the inspiration to start these? These Danny Awards.
Actually, see, when I walk a lot in nature, I was walking around the circumference of Manhattan. I always wanted to walk around Manhattan. It's 30 miles, so I did it in like 3 days, maybe 3.5 days. And I like to think. And my staff always said, "Did you go for a walk this weekend?" Because they brace themselves.
Yeah.
And so I came back and I said, "We have to do an award show." And I said, if you look it out, Oscar was probably a person. Tony must have been a person. So let's do the Dannies. And they said, "When do you want that?" So this was in like June or July of 2 years ago.
Okay.
And they said, "When do you want to do it?" I said, "March." They said, 8 months you want to do it? I said, 8 months we're going to have the first Danny.
Yeah.
And that's started.
It's great. Really, really great. It's so unique too. I would have never even thought about that. I mean, my mom has all these great ideas because she's on the board of DNA. She's not as involved as you can, and Nancy and your other son is, but along obviously with you, Daniel. But no, she goes and like swims, and that's Asphalt Green is right down the street, and is like, oh, I got all these ideas just from working out, being in nature, whatever. It's very therapeutic, so I resonate with that for sure. All right, so can you tell us a little bit about your book, which is The Daniels Music, One Family's Journey from Tragedy to Empowerment Through Faith, Medicine, and the Healing Power of Music?
Well, Daniel, why don't you give a background how we even got a book written by us? It started
okay. Yeah, it started during Yankees Hope Week.
Okay.
Because one of the interviewers, he asked my father, "What makes you you?" Because most of the interviewers were asking for sound bites, so they would ask like, "What happened to Daniel?" Stuff like that. But then this one interviewer, when it came up to my father and said, "What makes you you?" My dad said, "Jerome, I think that we should discuss this over breakfast."
I said, I can't give you an answer right now. And so he's a New York Times bestseller author, and he did a lot of the work with Tom Clancy in the Net 4 series. He's written a lot of other books with Bernard King, who's a basketball player. And so he said, "I like your story, similar to yours." He said, "Something happened, but you didn't just have your life end that way. Yeah. You made a decision at some point to do something for others." And he said, "For me, that's very intriguing." And so we talked about the book, and he said, "I'm going to do it." And it was amazing because we had no idea what it took to write a book.
Yeah.
It took 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we learned so much about what happened to Daniel because he interviewed like 30 people. So we didn't even know some of the facts in the book.
Yeah.
Like when they were going to take him off the respirator, that it was like a day or two away from doing that. We didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learned a lot. We were really pleased on what he did. Super nice guy, super detailed. One morning, what did he say? He called me up and
Oh
he said,
yeah, he called my father up and he said, you told me that Daniel took introduction to keyboard at Hunter." And I'm looking at the syllabus and I see introduction to piano 1. Could that have been it?
I
So
said, that must have been it,
yeah.
Jerome.
Yeah.
That
So
is
things like that. He really researched everything. Super happy with the result.
great book. I mean, I'm still in the middle of it, but it's a great book. So, how do you think, and I guess this is more for you, Ken, but how do you think music has played a role in Daniel's neurodevelopment from his, and brain growth from his injury?
I'll answer in two ways.
Okay.
Daniel connected to music like nothing else. There's studies. Oliver Sacks did it. Harvard did it. Music activates more parts of the brain than any other activity.
Mhm.
And so Nancy and I were interested in that. But Daniel ran with it because Daniel, you still have.
Yeah, I still have short-term memory issues sometimes, but music just seems to stick. I can listen to a song once or twice and then somehow remember all of the words.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
music gave, and we're actually thinking about at some point to do a study to see if we put sentences, words of daily living activities to music, if that will allow people to remember things. But so we saw how Daniel gravitated towards it. He felt good about it. He was good at it. And music gave him life.
Mhm.
I can't, I think about it sometimes on one of my walks. What would Daniel's life be like if he didn't have music? And I think everyone needs that one thing.
Mhm.
And I feel so, Nancy and I feel so blessed that Daniel found his one thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, music therapy is, used on all different levels. It probably also, I mean, obviously music therapy with, injuries and so forth, but I can imagine, I mean, it helps me. I'm sure helps you guys and anyone else, but also helps psychologically too. And like, I think it really creates quote unquote, an endorphin rush. And it's very calming too. I mean, depending, it's classical, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, music's wonderful. Uh, have you taught at Brick? Like, have you come into like a music class? Have you been allowed to or been invited? Because they have fun music classes. Well, they did, so at least.
We do go
Yeah.
into my wife's class.
Yeah.
Okay.
We used to go into my mother's class and we would bring my keyboard and I would play Name That Tune with the children.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
We would talk about differences. Nancy would have a small wheelchair to talk about differences.
Great.
She talked about Daniel doing the marathon, but she said, and Mrs. Trush could never do the marathon. And one kid raised his hand and said, Mrs. Trush, you can't do the marathon because you don't have sneakers on. You have high heels on.
Yeah, you don't have the right
So you
shoes
don't have
on.
the right shoes. And we're actually doing a program March 12th virtually.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure you've also met Keith Toth.
Of course.
Yeah, he's amazing. I like used to sit. I mean, music class when I was there. Well, obviously Nancy was there too, but I was not. I mean, obviously wasn't with him, but I like used to watch him, like in the sanctuary. Like, I mean, I don't know how he does it. I unfortunately, I mean, I love music, but I've never been queer. Very like musically oriented when it comes to instruments. Maybe you guys will change that on me.
Yeah,
We'll put a
try.
yet. We'll put a yet.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. for sure.
When you were
Um,
singing, that everyone.
Everybody can sing.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I don't know about my voice,
Confident
but
in them.
You just have to train the vocal cords.
Yeah.
no,
That's
it's true. It's really true. What have you taught people about the healing power of music with DMF and just like in general? Or what do you think people have learned as a result of coming to you guys?
I think the first thing is that everyone's a musician.
Hmm.
You may not be playing at Lincoln Center or Carnegie Hall,
Hmm.
but you're expressing yourself.
Hmm.
So music is beautiful because as long as you take away that I have to be a performer,
Hmm.
I want to make it part of my wellness,
Hmm.
and it just transforms you, like you said earlier. It relaxes you. It allows you to express yourself.
Hmm.
Gives you confidence. Our members, we early on when we first started, a lot of people said, "Are you going to have performances? And how do you think your musicians will feel?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to have performances because it gives you a sense of confidence and empowerment when you're on the stage, when you're performing, and you're working towards a goal. I'm going to perform on stage." And interesting enough, it also is transformative for the family because
Yeah.
many of our families have never seen their child on stage.
Hmm.
And so it's that sense of normalcy. And so music is transformed on both sides.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough. I mean, like you said, what happened to Daniel was something unexpected. But what this man has done
Mhm.
in
Hmm.
changing New York City and the world, so proud. I couldn't be prouder.
Uh, I would. I mean, I would be too. I mean, what you're doing is great, Daniel. So keep it up. That's it for.
Definitely
That's all.
will.
Yeah. No, keep it up. I mean, I know it's hard and it's tough times right now, but just keep it up.